Welcome back. This will be part two of why Feminist Frequency is just awful and you shouldn't have to listen to them, but I'm going to do it just for people out there who might like it. Here we go. We're going on part two, White Supremacy and American Tradition, and why these people wear wonderful shirts but really don't make any sense.
Spread imprisonment of black men absolutely functions to prevent them from escaping poverty. This is the result of a system designed to maintain white supremacy as a central component of American society.
And with the openly
Now, what the end of part one, beginning of part two, she's referring to how poverty and crime are tangled up, and that it's true that crime does create poverty. Poverty does not create crime. However, if you live in an area where someone will steal anything you own, you will very likely remain poor than if you live in an area where everyone believes that your stuff is your stuff. People don't steal, people don't take stuff. Now, I'm going to assume that she's going to really go after Trump as a racist because this is Anita Sarkeesian. The everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is misogynist. This is her.
and with the openly racist Donald Trump in the White House, there isn't
Oh, she did it. First line with the openly racist Donald Trump. Donald Trump, to my knowledge, there are no actual quotes of him being racist towards people. Now, that's not to say that he's not racially insensitive, such as eating a taco at Trump Tower for the Cinco de Mayo, but Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican holiday. It's not a race holiday. He's accused criminals from Mexico coming into the country illegally and is wanting to build a wall to stop that. Again, Mexico is not a race. Mexico is a nationality, and if Canada said we want to stop American criminals from entering our country and robbing and stealing, that wouldn't be racist against America. That would be, well, what everyone would expect them to do is force out the groups of criminals. However, people like Anna, who everything must be racist and sexist, will now tokenize whole swaths of people just to make her point that she is indeed sexist and racist.
even a need to use coded language anymore. Like so many members of the ruling class before him, Trump knows that poor white people should be outraged at him. So he uses racist rhetoric in an attempt to make poor whites feel superior and afraid, as a way to try to keep them from seeing the truth, that they're being lied to and manipulated.
All right, now if you don't know this, you live in the U.S. right now. Most of the media stories, if you look into them, and I mean anything more than just a surface survey, they are lying. These stories are all made up. Feminist Frequency is actually walking you through a story right now, or I'm walking through a story with Feminist Frequency, that they're lying to you about everything going on in the story. They have a story they are trying to tell you, and they will not let you know any fact or any statistic that isn't skewed to their narrative.
We already touched on how the current American justice system is absolutely a tool of white supremacy.
No, it's not.
And we highly recommend reading Michelle Alexander's incredible book, The New Jim Crow, to find
I'm going to bet that this book is really bad and is very much skewed towards a narrative that she needs to tell and will be both factually and intellectually false.
out so much more about that. But now we're going to talk about other ways that white supremacy manifests itself and what it means to resist it.
From Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico.
All right. Hurricanes are now racist. Okay. I'm willing to go with that. I remember Hurricane Katrina. I lived in Nashville at the time, and we had thousands upon thousands of people being bussed up from New Orleans to us during the hurricane. They were staying in shelters. They were moving up there. One of my very good friends moved up there. Worked with a guy who had been in New Orleans his entire life, and he had to leave when his house was flooded. Not a black guy either. He was white.
When disaster strikes areas with large non-white populations, the government's response is grossly insufficient.
When a whole area is under sea level, and then the ocean comes in and floods a large area that's under sea level, meaning it can't drain, or an island that's an island not directly connected to the U.S., you have to ship supplies over, it's horribly racist.
To meet the needs of residents. Now, the Three-Fifths Compromise way back in
This Three-Fifths Compromise, she's pulling up a slavery era compromise. She just jumped back in time 150, 60 years. No, I believe this is even before that.
1787.
1787. 240 years to make this reference. 240 years ago to make this reference.
Stipulated that black slaves were as full human beings.
And so many of the people in the arenas here, you know, were underprivileged anyway. This is working very well for them.
All right. So many of the people in these areas here, you know, were underprivileged anyway. This is working out very well for them. She is referring to these people coming in that were malnourished, that didn't that had all these problems. They're being moved into these stadiums to be fed, clothed, and taken care of because they can't get out of the flooded areas. Now, poor Barbara Bush there is just the epitome of what it means to be rich and aloof. But yeah, she was thinking more along of keeping them fed, keeping them safe.
Yes! How nice for the poor black people whose homes have been destroyed.
To have somewhere to go and stay safely and be fed.
And their communities ravaged. They get to spend some time at the Superdome.
The current estimated death toll from Hurricane Maria is over 4,600.
Now, I know that she doesn't know anything about the Hurricane Maria tragedy. This is from August 23rd, and I bet she's going to get every single bit of it wrong.
Much of that attributed to the sheer failure on the part of the government to provide the necessary resources and support.
Of the Puerto Rican government to transfer the necessary services and support. The racist Puerto Rican government, who are racist against their own people. Oh, man, I forgot her name. It's Anita. I have friends and family who are over there working. They're rebuilding these power lines. Yeah, you know what? These people aren't doing a lot in their own communities because the government should do it for them. That's what they believe. That's not something that you can push by law.
Do you think the response to either of these crises would have been so lacking if the affected area was largely populated by white people?
If you lived below sea level, your house would be flooded just the same as these people. If you don't have homeowners insurance or flood insurance or any means to take care of it, if you're living on welfare, you can't afford things. You must work, get out, get a job, get moving. If you lived in Puerto Rico and you live on an island and your island gets hit by a massive hurricane and your Puerto Rican government doesn't transfer food, water, supplies out of it at a reasonable time, yes, it's a problem. You cannot, as any group of people, be completely dependent on the government to take care of you. Ever. It's not a thing. They won't do a good job.
The government to provide the necessary resources and support. Do you think the response to either of these crises would have been so lacking if the affected area was largely populated by white people?
Yes, if they lived in the same type of place, in those same homes. Like I said, I had friends who moved up from after Katrina hit. They left New Orleans because they were poor. Once they got to Nashville, they got jobs and they were more successful. It is a very poorly run state. The city was poorly run. They were ill prepared for a massive hurricane that flooded areas that are below sea level. Puerto Rico is still being rebuilt. They had hundreds of failures on the part of the Puerto Rican government to get supplies out effectively.
Spoiler alert, it wouldn't.
Like other forms of oppression, such as misogyny, white supremacy...
All right, now, this is a trans woman talking about misogyny. Let that sink in for a minute.
Supremacy in the United States is in no way natural.
White supremacy in a majority white country is not a thing. It is referred to as culture. If 90, or right now, what is it, 65% of the country is what you would consider white, I would think of myself more as Irish. I've got friends, current girlfriend, her ancestry is German. That's not a thing. The token white phrase is something used by people on the farther left to try and demonize a whole group, a minority race on the U.S. About, what is it, 15% of the world can be qualified as white. We are an actual minority. We are. White people are a tiny minority. The largest group of people are Asians. Spoiler alert, these people consider Asians to be white.
It was manufactured by slaveholding plantation owners and other members of the ruling class for a very specific purpose.
Because it's fictional. Everyone was white at that point in time.
But to so many white people who grow up in a culture that treats it as natural and you can
As
just
history.
see clearly enough to recognize them. White supremacy is a president who calls the attendees of a racist rally very fine people.
It was a Unite the Right rally, and there were lots of groups there. You have the white supremacists, you have groups there for Antifa, you have regular protesters there, you have a ton of people there. And there are massively violent clashes there. And yeah, what he said, very fine people on both sides, is a little strange, but you know, you can't demonize everyone that went out to see this, that was there, as evil. Do I agree with white supremacists? No, I think you should kind of work it out with them. Do I think Antifa is a violent hate group? Yes, I do.
While condemning black athletes peacefully protesting against police violence.
Police violence. This is actually a false narrative story started by, they'll get to it, I'm pretty sure. But Colin Kaepernick had every right to kneel for the national anthem. I don't believe the national anthem needs to be played at all sporting events. That's just a weird patriotic thing that I don't really get.
White supremacy is in that very police violence, as again and again and again,
Police shoot people all the time. It's awful.
cops abuse and even murder black people.
She's going to give us I'm sure it's going to be a great piece she's going to cut to.
And walk away scot-free. Darren Wilson, the police officer who murdered Michael Brown.
Michael Brown, who has been proven that all the stories that run around him in Black Lives Matter are lies. He robbed the convenience store after them not being willing to buy drugs from him. They laughed at him in the video and told him to get out, and he took his drugs out. When he came back the next day, he robbed them. It's in police video. You can watch it on their security footage.
In Ferguson, Missouri on August 9th, 2014.
When he attacked the police officer and then had a woman lie to say that he had his hands up when he did not. He was attacking the officer and was gunned down for violently attacking a police officer.
Described the 18-year-old as a demon.
Demon. If someone was at you, this person here, right here, if someone was beating on them, punching them in the face, trying to choke them, they would refer to that person as a demon. Actually, no. This person right here, if you said mean words on the internet, you are a demon.
This is white supremacy, which tells white people to look upon black people with fear.
This is the face of hate. This is the face of a racist, of a sexist, of a misogynist. Right here, this face. These people are
As
wild.
something more monstrous than human. In a piece for Slate about Wilson's testimony, victims of police brutality.
Like his absurd birther campaign.
Birther campaign was a huge thing with conservatives, and I always thought of it more of a joke. Obama released his stuff, proving he was born to a U.S. mother, to a Kenyan father, and it was absurd and kind of funny, but yeah.
Which attempted to make people perceive Barack Obama as an illegitimate president. Trump's travel ban, his fear-mongering about
Mexican criminals, say the word, illegal aliens. Ah, no. Sorry.
His administration's crackdown on undocumented people.
Undocumented MS-13. This is actually a gang whose motto is like rape, murder, kill or something.
His caging of immigrant children as if
Now, she just held up Barack Obama, who did the exact same thing. Now, these are illegal aliens coming into the country illegally and sneaking in, and they're being caught, put in shelters, fed, taken care of, and strangely enough, if you read the news now, a lot of these people here are sexually abusive, not being abused by people that are Americans. These are actually being abused by each other. So probably best not to let them in so they can abuse other children.
As if they were animals. These are all manifestations of white supremacy. And remember,
Even when done by the black guy, it's still white supremacy.
a significant part of the function of white supremacy is to distract poor whites from the economic injustice they experience.
I don't know. I don't know why they keep going after economic injustice. This is one of those unique things where if this guy here is a white man, people like this here are telling you you should not be allowed to go to college, more or less through affirmative action, where now you see all hiring, everything is done towards women, people of color. The standard white man is looked down upon in almost everything except for trades, and even now they're trying to move into trades and pull that out
So
from under
they're
people.
more likely to be angry at the immigrant who supposedly
Not immigrant. These people here demonize all immigrants. It's something that Feminist Frequency has to do because you can't say illegal alien. You have to say immigrant because immigrant, this guy here could be an immigrant. He could be from Canada. He could be from Ireland. He could be from Norway. This guy here could be from Colorado. He could be from New York. He could be from anywhere.
took their job than they are the multimillionaire CEO
Oh,
who
definitely
refuses
not
to pay
going to
them a
do
living
another
wage.
video. We're going to skip ahead.
But we can only really see the issue clearly by looking at it through a lens of race.
Yes, make everything racist.
Generations of slavery, followed by generations of Jim Crow.
Generations of slavery, yes.
Generations of slavery, followed by generations of Jim Crow, followed by generations of the racist war on drugs have
No, the war on drugs is not racist. The war on drugs is the war on drugs.
left black families in particularly poor and precarious situations.
No.
Consider that
Poor.
in 2016, the median wealth for black families was $17,600, while the median wealth for white families was almost 10 times that, at $171,000.
Do you mean to tell me that if your culture is bad, then you'll be
This
have
is the
problems?
result of white supremacy that itself works.
All right, now I'm going to show her this. This is homicide rates. African American homicide rates are nearly quadruple the national average. 20%, 20 white people down here at 2. So if you 2.6 for white people, 20% for blacks. There is a culture issue going on in
To
this country.
reinforce and
Talk
perpetuate
about
white supremacy.
what the problem
As
is
whites
in
often
your
falsely-
culture. If being white means you're more likely to survive, then maybe you should look at what white culture is doing. Sorry.
We attribute these economic differences to laziness or poor choices, and not what they actually are. The result of hiring discrimination.
You're predominantly more likely to be hired if you're a female or a person of color.
Less access to stable, high-paying jobs.
You're more likely to be recruited for stable, high-paying jobs if you're a person of color or a female.
And less chance to build up wealth and pass it on to future generations.
If you have a job and stop spending all your money on frivolous stuff and trying to show off, you will be able to pass wealth on to future generations.
James Baldwin wrote that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. White supremacy can be changed.
It doesn't exist in the way they're discussing. They're saying burn down the culture that exists because we need a different culture and it should be more violent, more unfair, and favor
It
us.
can be dismantled, but first it has to be faced. That means recognizing it as a constant of this country's history that manifests.
This country's history, no, is not that way. This is the face of racism. This is the face of sexism. These are the three faces of hate that you see at Feminist Frequency, and here's all of them. These are people who are just trolling America with stupidity, and I'm just glad at 20 minutes I can't even get to the end of this. Thank you all for watching, and I'm going to add a dislike. No, they don't show any numbers. They don't show any comments. Oh, Feminist Frequency. You just hate yourself. Thank you for watching. Leave comments below. Have a great day.